lessons from the locust. Look back at verses 1 through 3 with me, and you'll see why I made this title. The word of the Lord that came to Joel, the son of Pethuel. Hear this, you elders, and give ear, all you inhabitants of the land. Has anything like this happened in your days or even in the days of your father? Watch this. Tell your children about it. Let your children tell their children and their children another generation. God says to the leaders and to the entire nation, I want you to stop. I want you to listen when he says, hear this, give ear. That means stop. I need you to listen to what I'm doing. And I want you to tell your children, and them tell their children, and them tell another generation. There are things God wants not only this particular group to know, but generations to come. And let me say this. There are things that God does providentially in our lives that He wants us to learn from. God has done something providential in the life of the Israelites, in the life of His people. And God does providential things. And sometimes He says, hey, I want you to learn something in what I'm doing in your life right now. He says to them, there are things happening in your life right now that is unprecedented. He says, have you ever heard of anything happening like this? Have you ever heard of anything like this, even in your father's day? And when I read this, I felt like it was commentary on 2020, on the year 2020. Have any of you ever heard of something like COVID-19 happening? Even in the racial crisis that we're experiencing right now, even that is almost for us on an unprecedented level. I don't know. I'd have to think. I mean, maybe you know, but the question is there. Like, this is unique distress for a nation. Now, I want you to understand something very clearly. As I talk about 2020 and I talk about Joel and Israel, these are not parallels, okay? America is not national Israel, and the situations aren't the same. So I would say it this way. These are not parallel situations, but there are principles to learn from this text and in our season of crisis. And that's what we want to make sure that we pull out. So Joel is important to every generation because every generation deals with the providential workings, distresses, trials, and tribulations of God in our lives. So first lesson the Israelites were to learn, that we're to learn, is this. Here's your first point. God is sovereign over every crisis. Every crisis. Taking it from the text, it would be this. The plague of locusts is no random event. It's not been a mild winter in Palestine, and that's why the locusts are so bad this year. Okay? There hasn't been some unique ecological shift or any other thing going on in the atmosphere that all of a sudden has caused locusts to reproduce in an unusual way. No. Locusts were very common to the Israelites. What has happened in Israel is unprecedented, unheard of, supernatural. The only time that they would be able to think of something like this, well, they'd have to go back to the Exodus to know of a plague in proportion like this. No, God is sovereign over the locust plague. And the plague of locusts in this case is a judgment upon